All right, welcome everybody. Glad you are all here this morning. As I was just sharing, we have a special treat with us here today, Miss Beth Adams. Let me just read her bio, and I'm going to just let her take it over from there. So Beth has been licensed in Arizona for over 20 years, and she's actually licensed in multiple states, including Georgia. And her skills include sales, marketing, branding, real estate operations, and KPI. And she also teaches and has done education on leadership skills and real estate sales. She is the designated, or was the designated managing broker for EXP in Arizona, which is the third largest brokerage in Arizona. How awesome is that? So Beth has taught continuing education classes in Arizona, real estate licensees for 10 years, and she managed operations and staff to 20 billion in sales volume, making Arizona the #2 largest state in all of EXP. And she's currently the VP of broker operations, overseeing the Midwest to the West. But as she was sharing, they really crossed over. And so we are, like I said, very fortunate to have her come on today. And she is going to talk to us about how to close buyers. So this market's a little bit different, a little bit more challenging than it has been the last couple of years. And so we've got an expert on that's going to help talk to us about that. So Beth, thank you again for being here, and I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Kathy, for that very warm welcome. I really appreciate it. I'm so excited to be here today. And yes, I'm going to share my screen, and I've got 2 buyer strategies to share with you today on how you can close buyers. And as we know, our world kind of shifted, right, in the last couple of months with the NAR changes and how we now have to treat buyers like we treat sellers, and getting buyer broker agreements signed and showing agreements signed and all of that fun stuff. And so how do we navigate that? How do we get our buyers committed? How do we support them? And so I'm gonna share with you 2 strategies. I'm so excited about it today. So I have a question for you though, and you guys can raise your little hands in Zoom if you want to. But how many of you are really comfortable now with buyer broker agreements and explaining buyer broker agreements to your clients? How many of you think you've got like a really solid way of working through that process? I see some head nodding. But I see this happening in some of the screens. So it's kind of a mixed bag, and I hope today what I'm going to be able to do is share with you some additional strategies and some tips that might help you leverage some technology and some proven strategies that have worked time and time again for me to help really solidify your relationship with the buyers. So how many of you are comfortable discussing your fee with your buyers now? Now that we have to disclose that up front, how many of you have really wrapped your arms around that and feel completely comfortable going in and having those conversations with your buyers? I see some head nodding. I see some of this. So perfect. Okay. Well, today I hope to share with you a few things that are going to help you feel really good about having those conversations with your buyers that sort of might pave the way for you as you go into those conversations. And so we're going to just jump on in and start talking about, let's talk about buyers first, because I really think one of the most important things that we can do is, before we talk about the strategies, is to really embrace who our buyers are right now. This is from the NAR home buying stats that came out for last year, for 2024. And I think if we really truly wrap our arms around who our buyers are, it will help us have those conversations. It will help us have better, more clear conversations with our buyers. So based on the stats that we see here, 86% of all home buyers used a realtor. So they worked with an agent to purchase their home. 69% started their search using not just the internet, right? That I think that number is up like in 89% started on the internet. We all know that. But 69% of all buyers started their search on mobile or tablet, which I think is a really important statistic because it tells us that, as we know, because we work, right? We work every day using our phones all the time, and so do buyers. This is how buyers do business as well, right? So we want to make sure whatever we're doing is mobile friendly or tablet friendly because that's where our buyers are living. We're there too, and so it's nice to know that, and I think that will help us craft some strategies around how we meet our buyers and where we meet them, which is definitely on mobile devices. This was really interesting. The average age of buyers last year went up to 56. That was an increase year over year. This is the oldest average age our buyers have been since NAR started keeping records. So that means that our buyers are starting out in a different age category than they have in the past. As we know, first-time home buyers have declined, and so our buyer category is getting older. And what does that mean for us in terms of providing that service to them? Doesn't always mean what we think it means. So I'm going to dive into a few tips on that as well. And then I thought this was also interesting. Again, this was the highest statistic that NAR has ever recorded, which was 73% of all home buyers last year did not have children under the age of 18 in the home. So didn't mean that they didn't have children living with them, but they didn't have children under the age of 18. It also means that perhaps we have a greater, and we've seen this over the last couple of years growing, right, a greater population of multi-generational home buyers, right, where we've got buyers purchasing and they have adult children living with us, or we have buyers purchasing and they have their parents living with them. And so we're seeing a lot more of that multi-generational purchasing happening. And so I thought those statistics were really interesting, and we're going to kind of weave some of those into our strategies. But this is also a couple of stats that stuck out to me, which is the most difficult part of buying a home. This is a question that NAR asked home buyers. 53% of them said it was understanding the process. Now, I want to go back really quickly and remind you that the average age of our buyer was 56, right? So, but 53% of all buyers said the most difficult part of buying a home was understanding the process. So it really doesn't matter the age of the home buyer, right? It's still a difficult process, and they still need help, and they need guidance, and they need structure, and they need help, and they need you. They need us as agents, right? So I loved to kind of put that correlation together. That really stood out to me, and I thought, oh, this is perfect, because some of the tips I'm going to share with you today are really going to hopefully help us bridge that gap with our buyers on understanding the process, clearing things up, making sure things are really easy and understandable. And then, of course, 49% said they needed help finding the right home, right? Which is where we also come into play. We know buyers can search the internet all day long on their own. In fact, some of them do it all night long because we get all those notifications of when they're searching around in our CRMs, right? But what they need help with is understanding if the homes that they're looking at, which one is the right one for them based on their needs and their wants and their desires and where they want to land. And that's where they really need us. They need us to give them all of those details and information and really help them through that process. And as we know, since we have to really go out and establish this relationship very quickly now, right, when we're working with buyers, we need help doing that. We need to be able to immediately set up that level of trust, that level of experience and information sharing that we need to provide to our buyers, right? So I'm going to talk to you today about two things. One is a buyer intro video, and the second one is buyer books. And so I'm going to go into detail on both of these, but I would love to know How many of you are doing buyer intro videos? How many of you are sending intro videos out to the buyer as soon as you get a hold of them, whether they are a lead, someone coming in from your sphere? How many of you are doing that? You can just raise your hand, put the little emoji in. Anybody here sending videos out, doing an intro video? I don't see any hands raised. Okay, cool. Well, maybe I will be sharing with you something new and different that you may want to implement in your business. How many are you doing buyer consultations and providing a packet or a book or some sort of informational thing to your buyers, whether it's digital or it's tangible? I see a couple of hands raised. Okay, cool. Okay. Well, we are going to take a little bit of a dive into what I call buyer books. Used them for years very successfully to help establish quickly that trust with buyers. And so we'll kind of dive into that as well. But both of these strategies are really good strategies, whether you're working with, let's say, a cold lead. So for example, somebody who comes in off of your lead generation system and they pop into your CRM, or you take a phone call from them because they've been on your website and they press the talk to an agent button, right? That would be a cold lead, and these strategies work great for them. Or let's say they're a SOI, a sphere of influence lead, and there's someone who you've known for a while. Maybe you've previously sold them a home, or you've established a relationship with them because they're friends or family or whatever it happens to be. So both of these strategies work for both situations. They can work hand in hand together, or you can use them separately. And we know the adage, and we've heard this repeatedly since last year, since we experienced all those changes, which is we need to treat our buyers like our sellers. And so I'm going to show you how to do that, hopefully in the next couple of minutes as we spend a little bit of time together. And then I will open it up for questions, and we can have some conversation as well. So let's talk about buyer intro videos. Let's say you get a cold lead, right? You get a call, the buyer wants to go see a property. It's a sign call, or it's a lead gen call. Maybe it's a prospecting call conversion, and they want to go out and view some homes, and you're excited. Then what? What's your next step after you get off the phone with that buyer? What's the very next thing that you do? Anybody? You can open up your mic. You can share.
At a minimum, just at least send a text that says, "Thank you for your time, and I look forward to meeting you."
Okay, send a text. I heard another voice in there. Go ahead.
I usually send an email welcome letter with then my information. I have a brand new buyer guide that I'll put in there now. I used to do a different presentation, but I do that, and then if I remember, I'll send the video text welcoming them, reminding them, and then I send a Calendly invite.
Nice. I love the detail and the strategy and the process there. That's very cool. So yeah, some of you've got systems and processes in place already. You got it down pat, and you know what your next step is. Maybe some of you don't. So I love buyer intro videos. I love what they can do for you and the immediacy of the trust that they can build with your buyer. So what I like to do is send an immediate buyer intro video. I get off the phone. I know I'm going to go meet and show them property tomorrow first thing, but I really want to establish that I'm more than just a voice on the phone. I want to establish that I'm here. I'm an agent. I'm here to serve them. I'm excited to meet them. And it really provides that personalization. They're going to see the face that they're going to meet at the property tomorrow. So it gives them some comfortability knowing who they're going to meet. They know what I look like, that familiarity and that authenticity. I'm also going to give them a brief explanation of the process, right? Because looking at homes and being able to show homes and developing that relationship with the buyers has changed in the last few months. And maybe they don't know that. So I'm going to give them a little explanation of the process, what it looks like when I meet with them in Arizona. And I know some of you are all around the country, so this is going to differ state from state, but in Arizona, I have to have them sign either a buyer broker agreement or a showing agreement before I even step foot into that house. So I want to set them up for success. I want to set myself up for success. So I want to touch on that just a little bit in the video. I want to set those expectations, right? I want them to know how I'm going to work for them right up front. And then it also sets me up as the trusted professional. I'm not keeping anything back until I meet them face to face. I'm letting them know right away what it's going to be like, and the things that I'm going to require of them, and then the things that I'm going to do for them, right? How I'm going to work for them. So setting that up is really important. So what do we include, right, in this video? And gosh, that sounds like a lot. And we know, right, that like buyers and most people these days, we're all about immediacy and quickness, right? We don't want to send a video that takes 10 minutes. We want to send a video that is under 2 minutes. And gosh, I just shared with you all of these things that we want to include in that video. And how do we do that all at once, right? So a couple of things to keep in mind when you are thinking about this video that you might craft and send out. One of the things is to keep it short. We want to keep it under 2 minutes so we capture and keep their attention, but that we're not just going on and on and on. We want to cover who we are, that we're excited to meet them, talk about the things that they have to sign in order to look at property with us now. We want to give them a call to action, whether it's to reach back out to us if they have questions, maybe to go look in their inbox in their email, because we're going to send them an email with the documents that we need them to sign. Whatever it happens to be, we want to give them a call to action. And then we also want to make it textable, right? Because of that statistic that we looked at earlier, where 70% of our buyers are on their mobile devices. We want to make it easy for them to see that video. We want to make it easy communication. I heard, I think it was Kimberly that mentioned that she sends a text right away, and I love that. You know, we want to make it easy for them to access that video. So we want to make it textable. We also want to make it systematic, right? We want to do one video and then just keep that one video and send it to all of our clients, right? We don't want to have to do video every time we get that call. We want to make it really systematized. So those are the things we want to include in the video. And then I think the question is, how do we do that, right? How do we create this video? And then how do we send it out? And so there's lots of ways that you guys can do it. You can do it right on your phone, and you can keep that video on your phone and then just click on the video in your photo album and just text it right out, right? As soon as you get off that phone with the prospect. Or you can systematize it a little bit more and leverage your CRM and have it live in your CRM and send it out through your CRM. Whatever system you use, you want to make it easy and functional for you, because the best CRM and the best strategy and the best processes are the ones that are going to work for you. And so if that's where you live in the CRM, make it accessible and easy to send out there. If you are just I'm going to text it straight from my phone, make that the system that you're going to use. So I forgot to change my slide, but there's multiple ways that you can send the video out. But again, you want to just make sure that it's easy to send out, easy to access, and easy to incorporate into your systems and processes. And again, that you're doing it for everyone, right? You're going to treat all your buyers the same, just like we do with our sellers. And we're going to have this to send out to every single buyer that we chat with. One of the things that I think you're probably asking yourself is, okay, you gave me a whole lot of information, right? What do I put in the video? What do I say, right? How do I do the video? What do I say? Well, I'm going to just share the next slide with you. I have a script for you guys. Now you can take the script, go ahead and screenshot the QR code. It's going to take you to the script document. Take that script and make it your own. Use it how you want to use it. Add in your state-specific requirements or the topics that you want to share out with your buyers as you're first connecting with them. So just scan the QR code, go ahead and download that script, and then take it and make it your own. This is a script that was actually created by my husband, who happens to run his own team. He uses this video. His team members use this video as well, and they all are very, very successfully meeting buyers, having them sign either a buyer broker agreement or a single showing agreement with no issue before they set foot into that showing, before they step foot into that property. And they follow the video up with an email that includes the forms, gives the buyer the choice, and then asks them to reach out to them if they have any questions. And then they reconnect with them if they haven't gotten the form signed back yet. But 90% of the time, they're getting those forms signed before they ever meet the clients at the property. And they do a lot of cold leads. So this is immediately after you connect with that buyer, and then making that video, sending the email, and then having all of that put together and completed even before you meet them at the property. So with the video, you've established that trust, you've set expectations, and you've been able to deliver yourself to the buyers, right? Your face, your personality, your authenticity, and they know who they're meeting when they go to the property, either the next day or that afternoon or whatever it happens to look like, right? So how many of you think that is something that is easy for you to incorporate into your strategies? Do you think that's something you guys can do? I see a few hands. Very cool. Okay, very cool. All right, so I'm gonna leave us with the video idea, and you guys can take that and run with it as you will. And then we're gonna take a dive into buyer books. And I absolutely love using buyer books when you're doing a consultation and you're meeting with your buyers, and perhaps you're meeting with them right at the property, right? Because again, they're that cold lead that's come through. They've called you, sign call, or perhaps it's coming in off your CRM and they want to look at property, and you're meeting them at the property. I'm coming with my buyer book. I've got information for them. I am going to provide them something of value that they are going to take away with them. And this book can be, and you don't have to call it a book. You can call it an info packet. You can call it whatever you like. I happen to call it a buyer book just because that's what I've called it for so many years. But it can be either a digital book that you package up and you email off, or it can be something that you come with, a tangible binder, folder, whatever it happens to be. Now, I happen to like binders because you can add and put information in as you go along, as you take your buyer through the home purchasing journey. I like the binder because you can give them things and have them put it in there. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, my buyers, they don't really want anything tangible. They're not going to want the book. That sounds old and antiquated. I work with the younger buyers, and I would challenge you on that thinking, because I'm going to take us back to that original the original statistic, right? That said the average age of our home buyers is 56. Some of them may want the tangible book. Some of them may want a digital copy. I might ask them what their preference is so that I show up ready to go. I will tell you, I've worked with all different sizes, shapes, and ages of buyers, and I've always delivered the tangible version of the book, and it's always been really impactful. So I've never assumed, but I've always liked to just come with a tangible version. And I will tell you, I'm gonna share with you a little story about how impactful the buyer book can be. And this is a story of a buyer that I worked with. His name was Ron. He came in through a cold lead. He was interested in looking at property. I took the call. I met with him. I gave him the buyer book. We went through the process of looking at homes. Found one that he liked. He purchased. And being the process-oriented agent that I am, I continued to follow up with him after he bought his home. About every 6 months, touching base with my past buyers, just checking in. How are you? How are things going? And maybe I'd do a quick phone call or a quick check-in, a quick text. And I heard from Ron. He was doing well the first 6 months. And then the next time I checked with him, he said everything was okay, but he was having some health issues. And then the next time I checked in with him, I didn't hear from him. And I thought, oh, well, maybe he's just, you know, in it with his health issues or whatnot. And then I checked in with Ron one last time, and I still didn't hear from him. And so, you know, I continued to carry on with the rest of my business. Sometimes buyers fade in and out of our lives. Our past clients especially tend to drop off. But I got a phone call one day, and I got a phone call from a lady. Her name was Michelle, and she said, you sold a home to my father, and unfortunately he's passed away. And that was Ron. Ron had passed away, unfortunately. And she was reaching out because she wanted to sell his home, and she knew that we had worked with him as his buyer's agent. And so I was curious. So I asked her, I said, Michelle, just out of curiosity, how did you get my information? How did you know I had sold your dad the home? And she said, well, when I went in to go through the house and clear out his things, I found this buyer book. And in it was your information and all the information about the home, including the manuals for all of the appliances, the closing packet from the title company. Ron had used that buyer book as a documentation of his home buying process and the home thereafter. He had receipts in there for repairs he'd done for the home, and he kept that buyer book. And so it meant a lot to him, but it was also the way in which Michelle found us and was able to get a hold of us, and we were able to help Michelle sell her dad's home. So the power of the buyer book is really amazing. And I shared that story with you because it was amazing to me too. I had no idea that after the home buying journey, after that was over, that the buyers were holding onto those and using those books to document the history of their house. And so it was really impactful to me to understand how valuable that book became to some of our buyers after we closed on the home. So we talk about buyer books, but they really are very meaningful sometimes to our clients. So let's talk about what we should put in to the buyer book. What should go in there? What information should we provide in there? And what makes a buyer book impactful to our buyers? So a few things that I want to talk about, which is you. You should put yourself into the buyer book. You should have information on you. We want to, sell ourselves, right? But we also want to establish ourselves as the professional, right? As the expert. And how do we do that? So we want to have information on ourselves in that buyer book. If you're doing a digital version, you could include a video that introduces yourself and talks about your skills and your experiences and the things that you bring to the table that are unique to you as a buyer's agent. If you're using a buyer book and it's actually the tangible version, this is something you want to put in and maybe make it colorful, make it an infographic, make it very informative, but also visual. I'm a visual person. I think most people are these days. And so you want to make it colorful and interesting. Again, you want to talk about why a buyer would want to work with you. Give them some information about you and why you are who you are and what you bring to the table. Another thing that I want to talk about that you should include is your stats, not just your company stats or the number of homes that you've sold, but talk about your statistical negotiation stats, right? How have you negotiated for your buyers? How have you gotten them closing costs or percentage off the list price to the purchase price? What have you done for your past buyers? And then you're probably asking yourselves, I have no idea where I find that information. Go back and look through your past sales and compare list price to the purchase price. How did you help negotiate for your clients? How much closing costs did you get for the last 10 transactions? And you can average that out and include that in your statistics. Start to tell your story of how you work for your buyers and show that through the statistics. It's more than just propaganda. I can say that I work really hard for my buyers. I can say that I negotiate really hard for my buyers, but it's better to show them, right? It's better to provide them that statistical information and be able to say, I got 10% off the list price on average for my buyers. I got them an average of $10,000 in closing costs. Whatever that happens to be, we want to really show that rather than just tell it. It's propaganda versus statistics, right? And I think it's always best to provide those statistics, really show your buyers how hard that you work for them. Let's talk about what else to include in that buyer book. I absolutely love to include client testimonials, past client testimonials. My clients, let my clients tell my story. How did I work for them? What did I do for them? If you're not sure, if you're really not sure, like what value you provide to your clients, I remember having a moment about 12 years ago where my husband and I were starting to put together a team. It had always just been the two of us working together. We were starting to put together a team, and we had that moment of, what's our value proposition? What makes us unique, you know? And we kind of both like looked at each other and we were like, I don't know. Why do people work with us? Well, let's find out. Let's ask. And what we did was we reached out to all of our past clients. And we asked them for two things. We said, could you please provide a testimonial? Just email it to us. Like, it doesn't have to be a formal process. We didn't go through a formal platform for testimonials. You can use Google reviews. There's Real Satisfied. There's all those different review platforms, and you can definitely use those. And many of you probably are, and you may already have those client testimonials. When we started Buyer Books, we didn't have that. So we reached out and we asked them to provide an email testimonial. And then we asked them why they wanted to work with us. Why did they find value in working with us? And that was singularly probably the most valuable question we ever asked our clients after we worked with them. And the resounding answer was one we did not expect, because it was just my husband and I, and they said, it's your team. Your team. We loved working with you because you had this amazing support team behind you. And we were like, support team, what are they talking about? We had no idea. So we asked more clarifying questions, right? Like, what team are you talking about? Well, it was because we had established over the years in being in business, we established relationships with vendors, home inspectors, electricians, plumbers, roofers. We had these relationships established, and they looked at those folks as part of our team because we were able to give them names of people when they needed a service provider, when they were in the midst of their inspection period, or they had closed on their property and something needed to be fixed. We had this list of service providers to give them. Here's 3 plumbers, here's 3 roofers, here's 3 electricians that you can lean in on. And we had no idea that that's what our clients looked at and said, that's what's so valuable about you guys. You guys have all of these contacts in the area, and you're always constantly giving them out. Okay, cool. That's what makes us valuable. All right, let's leverage that. Let's lean into that. Let's make that part of our unique value proposition and provide that to our buyers right up front. So we then started providing a list of service providers in our buyer books so that they had that information right at their fingertips, right at the very beginning. Buyer agent compensation, right? Our buyer broker agreements or our showing agreements, you might want to provide copies of that. If they've already signed it and you're meeting them at the property, stick that in the buyer book. Forms, right? A lot of times we may be working with buyers who are coming in from out of the area, and they don't have any idea what it's like to purchase real estate in Tennessee or in Georgia or in Arizona, and they may not have looked at a contract. So maybe we're providing them some sample contracts. Maybe we're providing them home buyer checklists to help them understand the process and the steps. Because remember, if we go all the way back to the very beginning of this class, one of the most important things that buyers wanted from their agent was help understanding the process. So if we can give them that in their buyer book, something tangible, something to check off, something to look at and understand, this is the next step in the process. This is what it looks like. I'm going to go from A to B to Z. That's really powerful. And then finally, timelines. Maybe it's area information. Maybe there are other things that we can provide our clients that are really going to provide value and show them our area of expertise. You can also provide market data, statistical data on the areas that they're searching in. That's truly valuable to our clients, and we want to provide all of that for them in our buyer books. All right, now you guys are thinking, where do I get all this information? Where do I find all this information? Well, you're going to have to create your unique value proposition and your information yourself about yourself. But the other items I can definitely help you with. And we have an amazing buyer toolkit here at eXp Realty. And if you haven't clicked into the buyer toolkit and looked at the wealth of resources that exist there, I encourage you to scan the QR code and go into the buyer toolkits. There is a wealth of information there. All of these forms are there. The buyer presentation is there. You can download it, customize it, print it out, stick it in a binder, and start giving it to your clients. You can download it, customize it, and digitize it and email it to your clients. However you choose to use a buyer book, it's entirely up to you. But that is the two items that I wanted to share with you today. Now I want to leave you with one last little piece of information. And this is just kind of like a bonus, right? We've got the buyer video, we've got the buyer book, and you guys know that sometimes you might go through all of these steps. You might do everything right with a buyer. You show up, you send them the video, you show up, you show them property, you give them the buyer book, and then they disappear. It's crickets. You don't ever hear from them again, or maybe you reach out and try to connect with them, but you don't ever hear from them again. So one of the things I wanted to share with you is the power of follow-up and consistency, making sure that once you get those buyers, that you keep those buyers, right? And we know many times buyers aren't ready to purchase today when they're looking at property. We know they may not be ready to purchase a month from now, and we've got to continue to connect with them and provide value to them so that they continue to want to work with us as their trusted buyer advisor. So how about follow-up? How do you follow up after you've met with buyers at the home and you've shown them property and you've spent a day with them? What's your follow-up like? Anybody want to share? How do you continue to connect with those buyers after you've met with them? What are you guys doing? Nothing. They're doing nothing.
Tracy, what are you doing on a regular basis? You're out there selling a lot.
So I add them into my KV core to try to find some type of way to stay in contact. Also invite them to events that I have, whether it be a ladies' night out with, it could be something for a certain holiday. I know like Valentine's and Galentine's, I invite my old buyers out. And I also connect with them as far as their 1-year anniversaries and different things like that, adding that into KV core to make sure I don't forget birthdays, just different things. Facebook friend them for sure, so you can see what's going on with them. But yeah, that's what I do.
I love it. You just gave a whole system on how you connect with your buyers afterwards. And I love that. You're leveraging systems and processes. You've got a plan in place. You've got a system in place, and you're leveraging that to do the work for you. And I absolutely love that, Tracy. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that's really the most important piece, right? Is again, you've got that follow-up and system in place, because you want to continue to drip on them, whether they've purchased with you and they're a past client, or they just went and looked at homes with you for a moment and they're not sure if they're going to buy, they're not sure when they're going to buy, but you want to continue to drip on them, to connect with them. And I'm going to share one of the favorite things that I used to do, especially with my out-of-town buyers, because I live very close and sold for many, many years in the Sedona, Arizona area, which we all know is just an incredible place where a lot of people want to come and live and retire in. And so I would go once a week and I would video myself in front of the Red Rocks, and I would share with my out-of-town buyers the weather, what was happening locally, events and festivals. I would tell them about what was going on in the town, and it would be a really quick little video, under a minute, and it would just sort of entice them. Remember what it was like here. Remember when you were here looking at properties. remember how much you fell in love with the area. And all of a sudden, I would get people reaching out. Hey, we're going to be in town next month. We want to look at properties again. And so again, it would create that connection. It was my face in a place where they were dreaming of living, and where I was sharing with them about the community. And then they got excited and they wanted to look at property next time they were in town. And so just again, keeping that connection, but leveraging those systems and processes. I will tell you, I didn't record a different video every time I sent it out. I would do one video and send it out to all the clients, right? I would make it generic. That way I was working smarter, not harder, and just making sure that I was leveraging my systems and platforms. Again, whether you're using KV Core or your CRM and you're getting it to do the work for you, or you're just working with your phone and you're sending that video out via text, whatever it happens to be that works for you, make sure you're doing that follow-up and continuing with that process. All right, guys, that is it. I think we have about 15 more minutes, Kathy, for questions.
Right.
In case anybody's got any questions, you want to pick my brain, I'm here.
That was so good. If you want to stop sharing, then we've got
Yep.
everybody on the screen. Thank you so much. That was amazing. Wow, just the two simple things, especially the video. I'm like, why have I never thought of doing that? I don't know. So what questions do y'all have for Beth?
I just want to comment, like, totally amazing. This is not the first time we've been told by our coaches to do videos, but something about the way you shared it, Beth, it has me totally fired up. I'm going to do a video as soon as possible. The buyer intro video, the digital book, which I have a digital book through, I was paying for is it Authorify or something like that. I don't have to pay for it. I can do it the way you did it and have something very nice, or even if I set it up in a personalized folder or something. I love that. And sending stuff to your clients, like, okay, so yes, I had my systems in place, but when you're talking about things that were going on in your neighborhood, I didn't think about letting them know what's going on this weekend, what's going on this month. So you leveled it up for me, girl. Thank you so much. Amazing presentation.
Oh, thank you, Tracy. I love to hear that. I love that you're fired up about it. That's awesome.
Oh, good.
It was very simple, but to the point, very good. A lot of tips, good tips.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you. Do you have a specific place that you order those binders? I was ordering folders, and then I switched to EXP, so I've got boxes of Eagling Realty folders. But so I bought generic ones and got stickers. But for the binders, is there a specific place you go to get them cheaper than Walmart or wherever else you get
You know,
them?
my favorite F word is free or low cost. So I will tell you, I leverage Amazon. I get a whole big
Okay.
old box of the 1-inch binders. And
Okay.
then I have a great assistant. So I tell them I need, 10 buyer books created, and they're going to create those buyer books for me. I have them all in Canva. So I use Canva. I've got the pages created in Canva. I have a buyer book. I have a seller book too, but that's a different class. But in Canva is all the pages, and then my assistant just has to go in and print those out, and then they stick them in the binder. And then right before I go to meet that client, because usually, we get that call and then it's like, okay, and we're off out the door. Maybe it's in a couple of hours, maybe it's in the next day, but I'm going to print out the properties that we're going to look at. Maybe some neighborhood information, because that's all going to be specific to the client, and that's usually done right at the last minute. But I'm going to print those things out, and then anything else that I think might be useful or beneficial to that buyer client. And that is all going to be based on the questions and conversation that I have with them over the phone, right? So perhaps they might be moving in with children, or they are coming in as retirees and they're interested in a specific area. I'm going to probably tailor a little bit to their wants and needs there, and maybe provide them some specific community information.
Okay, so you don't have branded binders. You don't order branded binders from anywhere.
I don't. Okay. I just, use the plain old white 1-inch ones, get them in bulk from Amazon, and then I have a cover page that gets stuck in that very front.
Okay.
And then if you digitize it, you know, again, you can use Canva. Canva creates books. And so Canva is such a powerful tool. This is many years ago, but I actually was a beta tester for Canva when it first rolled out. So I'm a tried and true Canva fan through and through. And so I love when they came out with the book option. You know, you can take those buyer books and actually create a book that's a digital book in Canva, and then you can export it as a PDF. And then you've got your digital version as well.
Yeah, thank you. And I love the idea of sending the videos. I've done videos and posts on Facebook, but I didn't think about putting them into my KV Core and sending them out. Like, oh, duh. you.
Send them out, make that connection before you ever meet them in person, and they will feel like they know you already. And that's really important when you're thinking about establishing trust and how quickly we have to move nowadays, because we do need them to trust us. They have to sign paperwork before we can even show them properties. So we need to
I know.
quickly. And that video will create that authenticity. I mean, video is really powerful. And if any of you are using video and you connect with someone who has connected with you through your video, it's incredible. They think they know you. They think they already have met you, and you know, they feel like they've established a relationship with you. It's really, really powerful.
It is. Thank you.
Silver books, I always used to put a picture of their house on the outside of it. You know, and I'm sitting here thinking on the buyer book, like what different things. I mean, if they're out of town buyers, what if you just had a really pretty landscape picture of your city, right? You know, like maybe that's the cover of your book. Or I mean, you could obviously just have it branded EXP with your logo and everything as well. So you know, a lot of different ideas you can put on the book. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Anything else? Anybody? So you got Tracy scared. She said, "I'm glad you're licensed in Arizona, not Tennessee or Georgia." I told her, I was like, she is licensed in Georgia as well.
Oh my goodness, don't bring those amazing books
You
up
better
here. Don't
step
bring
it up big time, girl. You already balling out there. You got somebody on your heels now.
I gotta get to work.
Love it. I love it. I will tell you, I in Arizona, way before the NAR settlement changes came out, we were using buyer broker agreements. It's something we rolled out as a state about 12 years ago. And we started using buyer books because we wanted to incorporate buyer broker agreements when we first met the client. And I will tell you, in the years of selling and using buyer books, I never have worked with a buyer, given them a book, and not had them in turn choose to work with me. So it really is a powerful tool for you to leverage in your business that helps support what you provide to your client.
Thank you so very much. I'm on point now.
I love it, Tracy. I love it.
So good. Anything else, anybody? Beth, this was amazing. So I thank you so much for coming in. And, you know, for those of us like myself, it's been in real estate a long time. I'm like, why have you never thought about not doing a video, you know, just intro video to your buyer prospects? I mean, it's so simple, yet, yeah, I mean, 26 years in the business, I've never done that for a buyer. So just having that thought is amazing. So, all right. Well, if nobody else, a perfect replacement for Nick, Tracy said. I agree.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I just had, sorry, if you don't mind, I just have one question.
Yeah,
real quick.
Ted, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just wondering. So I missed the QR code on the script. Can I either replay the video later, or could you pop it up real quick, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on.
Okay,
just
sorry
one
about that.
second.
Thank you.
And while she's bringing that up, we will have the replay in the Freedom team. By tomorrow, it will be in there. All the replays are in the Freedom team. And then also we put them on the Freedom Team YouTube channel. You can go under the playlist and they're broken down by categories there. So we'll be in both places tomorrow.
All right, cool.
I'll drop it in the chat here in just a second. I'm just pulling
Awesome.
up that link for you. So
Okay, cool. Thank you.
and it was the script, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
You are.
I like the idea of making these things generic enough that you can send it to anybody. And in KV Core, I know with video, you've got to pay extra for that. Is there a way that you recommend sending the video besides just putting it on YouTube and then within email?
Sure. So you could use I know I leverage BombBomb, and that's its own separate. I mean, it does have a fee, but it's very nominal. I think I want to say it's about it's pretty low.
20 bucks.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot, and you can use BombBomb. BombBomb will give you a link to text, and it will text directly the video. That way you can either put it into your CRM, but if you're not using a CRM, you can literally go, and BombBomb's an app on your phone. You can record video there and send the video directly from there, or you can save the link and you can just, so again, you'll notice that I am very process and system oriented, but I'm also simple. I like things that are simple and work really quickly because we're on the go, right? We're not sitting in front of our desktops. We're in our car most of the time, driving from house to house or driving from place to place, and we're working off of our phones. So for me, I put it in as a text shortcut. So I would text VV. And VV would bring up the link to the video. And then there was another text shortcut that I would use to add in the text, the verbiage that I wanted to put in my actual text. And then it just is there and is sent out. And a couple of letters later, it's all done, right? And so it just, again, simple is sometimes the easiest. And if you've got a great CRM, you can leverage off of your phone and you can use it through your CRM. Great. If not, learn what will work for you on your phone, and that will make it simple and easy to do efficiently while we're on the go, right? So I've got that link I'm going to share with you now, and I'm going to drop it in the chat for everybody.
When you have BombBomb, does the person has to have it too or not?
No.
Nope, it's just a link. So it would be like if you were using a YouTube link. So, you know, and you could use YouTube and you could keep that video private until you want to send it out to that. And so only the people with the link would see the video. It wouldn't have to be public on your YouTube channel. So you could also leverage YouTube that way as well.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
good. Well, thank you again, Beth, so much. This has been amazing, and appreciate you so much.
Beth, real quick, that link you just shared for Google Docs is telling people they need a password to get into it.
Oh, I just adjusted the access, so try one more time and see if you can get in there.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks, Andy.
Andy was on it. All right. Thank y'all so much. Come tomorrow. We've got the Connect to Collaborate, and we can just kind of brainstorm and talk more about this or any other topics you guys want to talk about. So Beth, this was amazing. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. You all have a great week.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Y'all have a great day. See everybody tomorrow. Same time, same link. Bye, y'all.